What's up, everybody? Welcome to our channel, Honest Hockey Takes. I just want to send a quick congratulations to the Argentina team for winning the World Cup today. That was an epic game. I watched it from start to finish. What a fantastic game. But for further ado, we're going to talk about, in this video, we'll be sharing our weekly 3 stars and weekly recap.
Yeah, so we're going to start off with our 3 stars. This is going to be 3 players that we thought most affected their team in a positive way and carried their team, in this case, to undefeated records. So for our 3rd star this week, we have from the Minnesota Wild, Kirill Kaprizov. This guy was an absolute beast this week. In 4 games, he had 8 points, 2 goals, 6 assists, and led this team to a perfect 4-0 record. This team is highly on the come up. They're right back in the good playoff spot they were expected to be before the year started, and it's looking up. Our 2nd star of the week, we have, yeah, I know this is getting tiring talking about this guy every time, but this guy can't stop scoring. Tage Thompson from the Buffalo Sabres. In 3 games this week, this guy had 8 points. He's top 5 in NHL scoring. It's absolutely wild, mind-blowing, just incredible. 4 goals, 4 assists, and this is the more shocking part, this team went 3-0. So Buffalo might have a chance to maybe save their season still. And our 1st star this week, one of my absolute favorite players, and just he's been so hot this year and going under the radar because of guys like McDavid and Draisaitl. But this is Nikita Kucherov from the Tampa Bay Lightning. Holy crap. In 3 games, this guy went and got 1 goal, 7 assists, 8 points, was +6. Just like absolute force on the ice. Tampa Bay didn't lose a game this week because of it. And just bravo, Kuch. You always are so good, and I swear you just don't get enough love. Alrighty, and that's enough with our 3 stars. I'm going to send you guys off to Hohen for our biggest winners of the week. Take it away, Hohen.
And our first biggest winners of the week is the Minnesota Wild. I mean, what a good team, eh? Win 4-0. Kirill Kaprizov, like the 3 stars. Look at him, absolutely crazy. The other guy that played really well also is Zuccarello, who also almost made the stars because he was scoring at such a crazy pace as well. The chemistry, it's good to see that the chemistry between those 2 players are back. Because I felt like in the beginning of the season they were kind of like off rhythm for a little bit, but it's good to see that they're finally hitting things in stride again. The game against the Oilers was absolutely clinical. Their defense has started to come out and play. Spurgeon's been playing a lot better. Dumba is playing better. All their defensive game is getting much better as the games go on, throughout the season. So it's good to see. Marc-Andre Fleury has been playing a little bit better, so hopefully he can keep that up. But the thing is, I want to see a little bit more consistency from this team going forward, because they did beat some pretty low-end teams this week. For the most part, they beat the Ducks, they beat Sens. I mean, these aren't exactly great teams. So I want to see them go toe-to-toe against some heavy teams.
Yeah, really, I guess other than the Oilers this week, they didn't beat any like amazing hockey clubs. But it was nice to see the chemistry come back, like Cohen said. Kaprizov and Zuccarello, they've kind of always had the chemistry ever since Cap came into the NHL. These 2 just hit it off and absolutely just yin and yang kind of thing. Like, they're just so good at what they do. Usually it's the other way around. Usually Cap's the shooter and Zuccarello's the passer. But this week we saw Zuc score 5 goals. That's crazy. Don't expect that from a playmaker like him. But I mean, it was nice to see, and it helped Minnesota huge. And for me, Fleury's bounce back in this last couple of weeks has been nice. He really started the year, the first couple months, really poorly. And he's slowly starting to turn it around, which is a nice story. Because, I mean, come on, everyone loves Fleury deep down. Even if he hasn't been great this year, it's nice to see that he's bouncing back.
Yeah, I like his goal pads.
All right, and our next will be the Tampa Bay Lightning, who went 3-0 this week. This team, I swear they just never fall apart. There's always a good hockey team. I mean, how many years now have we seen these guys be top 3 in their division? It's absolutely ridiculous. They're going to be competing probably for 2nd. I mean, at this rate, it doesn't look like anyone's going to catch the Boston Bruins in this division. It's kind of crazy. But they're most likely going to be 2nd or 3rd in the Atlantic, which is enough for Tampa because they make the playoffs, they're good to go. And as usual, this was driven by the big stars on this team, guys like Kucherov, who absolutely just always dominate, and Stammer, who's had a really quietly good year. It's just unreal. Closing in like past 1,000 points here soon. Pretty good achievement. And for me, one of the biggest changes for this team that has really worked out this year compared to last year, even though they obviously made it to the Cup last year, is having Brandon Hagel playing this good. This guy is so good with Kucherov in point. Like, he fits better than almost anyone they've tried in the last couple years with these guys. It's unreal. The guy is just below a point per game, and that's just unheard of for a guy like Brendan Hagel.
Yeah, Brandon Hagel has a terrific season so far playing with those guys. It's good to see that he fits in so well with those two-star players, which they badly need. One thing I always appreciate about the Tampa Bay Lightning is the mixture of different types of players that they have on this team. They got heavy hitters, they got guys that can fight, guys that can grind, and they got guys that can play make. They got guys that can score goals, and on top of that, they have a world-class goaltender. Like, what's there not to like? One guy I really want to point out is the return of Anthony Cirelli, who's an elite defensive centerman on this team, and once he came back to the lineup, he just transformed this team. This team just looks way better. There's way more chemistry throughout the up and down the lineup now. They're a much tougher team to play against. It's very good to see.
Yeah, their top 9, pretty much any of their top 9 can score goals. It's really nice. And like Cohen said, the build of this team is so different than almost any NHL team out there. That's why they've been so successful. They don't need to just go for 4 lines of scoring. They have the perfect mix of depth forwards that can do exactly what they need to do for 9 minutes a game. Guys like Perry and Maroon and like that. But they also have the high-end talent. And Victor Hedman is slowly coming back to what we expected to see. And that is probably one of my favorite takeaways from this week.
And the next biggest winner of the week will be the Buffalo Sabres, who went 3-0. I gotta take a second here and talk about Tage Thompson. I'm just like...
I feel like we always talk about Tage
Thompson. We always talk about this guy. This guy's been seriously been on our weekly 3-star for the second consecutive week, which is ridiculous. Last year, this guy just kind of popped out of nowhere. I didn't think... I just appreciated how good this guy was. I thought it was kind of a fluke season. But this season, he is absolutely tearing it up. This guy is a massive 6'7" or 6'6" centerman. There's no one else in the league like that big, with that size, that can skate the way that he does, and they've been absolutely crazy. One thing, I don't know how sustainable this is, because the game against Colorado, Dahlin and Samuelson played 30 minutes in that game. They played legitimately half that game. The rest of defense, they ran 5 defensemen, and the rest didn't do anything. So,
hey, but look, that's the first time that team's played any defense this year.
Yeah, but you cannot run on 2 defense for half the game.
No, of course
it's just
not for
an
82-game season.
One question I do want to ask you, though, is what do you think about Luukkonen?
I don't think he's a starting goalie in this league. He's a better option probably than a guy like Eric Comrie, but right now on this team, of the 3 goaltenders they've ran, Craig Anderson by far has the best numbers. That's not good. This guy's over 40 years old, and he is the best goalie on the team. That means there's some red flags. There's some stuff that if this team wants to be actually a playoff team, they're going to have to address. And they're going to have to pay money. I mean, you might just have to go out there and spend $5-6 million on a goalie and take the risk.
Yeah, I mean, this team has no trouble scoring goals. Evidently, as you've seen, Tage Thompson just ripping up the league by storm. But their problem will always be the back end, the defense side of it. Samuelson's terrific. I understand why they pay him that much money now. But their goalie is a big problem.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. They got to get that fixed. One last thing I just wanted to add about Buffalo this week, and not just this week in general, but the whole year. One of the biggest turnaround players for this team and how they've performed as a team, in my personal opinion, even though Tage Thompson's been unreal, Jeff Skinner's been scoring like crazy, it's Alex Tuch. We talked about him at the very beginning, first week we ever created this show, and we were talking about how he was an underrated player and someone you should definitely take a good look at. He's been insane. This guy's over a point per game, and I feel like he gets an assist every game on either Skinner or Thompson's goals. He's such a good fit, and we're really getting to see the best of him, because in Vegas, he was really buried on that depth chart. He always was on the third line there. He never got to crack the top 6 to show his true talent, and now we're seeing that Alex Tuch is actually a pretty solid player.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see Alex Tuch playing the way he is.
And our final big winner of the week, we have the New York Rangers. Now, this team, for a couple times at least in the last couple months, we had our concerns. We made a video about it. We're like, why is this team so bad? Why are they underperforming and just really not living up to their expectations after a Final Four last year? But this is the second week in a row now we've had them on our big winners list for the week. They've won like 6 or 7 games in a row now. It's kind of getting ridiculous. This is exactly what we expected to see when me and Hohen predicted them to win this division. What was so special about this week that they didn't have last week or any week of the year is that the kid line got going. Hedel, Kakko, and Lafreniere this week put up big numbers. And you know what? When this team has 3 scoring lines, we've seen they're unstoppable. They didn't lose to anybody, and just absolutely amazing. 4-0 record this week, and this team has a future if these kids can continue.
Yeah, that kids line played probably the best week I've ever seen them ever. Like, they play amazing. Another line I want to point out that played really, really well is Jimmy Vesey with Trocheck. That line has been unreal.
Yeah, they finally switched it up a bit. It was nice.
Yeah, I mean, that line has been, they have really good chemistry together, as you saw with VC scoring as many goals as he did this week. And on top of that, Lindgren, just a blocking machine. Like, it's so evident, like, wow, how
it's ridiculous how many times he gets up like blocks. Like, I saw him get one game this week with 6 blocks. I was like, this poor bastard. Like, he must be in so much pain right now.
Yeah,
like,
and he still keeps playing. It's crazy.
It's crazy. He's an absolute warrior. We love this guy. Underrated. And the final thing I just wanted to add, also from the defense, is after not scoring for almost 30 games, Jacob Trouba scored back-to-back games. So it's nice to see after taking like almost 100 shots, this guy finally got a couple.
Yeah. And going from the biggest winners, we're going to switch to the biggest losers of the week. And at number 1, we have the Edmonton Oilers, who went 1-2-1. I mean, they lost to the Ducks. They gave the Ducks the 3rd regulation wins of the year. This team's terrible. I hate to say it. Like, they got 2 really good players on the team, world-class players in Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. Don't get me wrong. Darnell Nurse is not living up to that $9.25 million. I don't care what anyone says. The Ducks game, he scored that first goal, but he also directly caused the next 2 goals that went into our net. I can't even blame the goalies at this point. The problem with this team is not like the Tampa Bay Lightning. They got a lot of different types of player on that team. We have a lot of the same types of player on the defense. So we got Kulak, Barry, Bouchard. These 3 guys are 3 offensive-minded defensemen. And they're not really good stay-at-home defensemen, which is what the Oilers badly need to get right now. Another thing that really points out to me is that they're not getting enough secondary scoring from throughout the lineup at all. Their wingers are just not doing their job. Yamamoto had 1 goal in this past week. It's not good enough. Jesse Puljujarvi played 7 minutes. He's been absolutely invisible. That guy needs to be traded ASAP. I don't care if his value is low. He needs to be gone.
Yeah, so I looked at the schedule that these guys had for this week, and I'm like, great. I might as well mark them down on the winners list. They're going to go like 3-1 or 4-0 this week. What an easy schedule. Oilers aren't going to have trouble. Then they got 8 points from Draisaitl and McDavid apiece and finished 1-3, essentially. Well, 1-2-1, but I mean, they lost 3 games. It's pretty embarrassing, to say the least. This team can't keep the puck out of the net. It's bad when the team like the Ducks, who literally have the worst offense in hockey, the worst goal differential in hockey. They've won 3 now in 30 games in regulation, and they lose to them. And like, it's crazy. Like, they only had like maybe 18 shots. They scored like 4 goals. The defense is just brutal. Some of the turnovers they were committing this week between Nurse and Bouchard. Bouchard passed one like right directly to Strome at one point. Like, I mean, sprung him on a breakaway. Like, I mean, come on, guys. Like, just take the extra second with the puck and make a good decision. Like, it's kind of crazy. I feel bad. I feel like sometimes McDavid's being held hostage on this team. It's just almost unfair to the poor guy.
Yeah, I don't know what to say at this point, too. I mean, I don't know. I feel bad for McDavid being on this team sometimes.
Alrighty, our next biggest loser of the week, we have the Detroit Red Wings. 0-3 again this week. This team, after a hot start, kind of like we were saying a few weeks ago, we didn't think it would hold up, and now we're starting to see it. The wheels are coming off. They just can't sustain that pace they started the year. Guys like Dominique Kubalik have really fallen off after that hot start to the year. They've gone through some injuries. They've missed a lot of man games to injury this year. So we'll give them a little bit of a break to that because, I mean, you're not playing with a lot of your top 6 guys. It makes it hard. Larkin missed a couple. Bertuzzi missed some time. Vrana was out. So it's not like they're firing at full strength, but you shouldn't be losing like this. They're getting absolutely outplayed. It's kind of crazy. And the sophomore slumps for guys like Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond are really hurting this team.
Yeah, I mean, this week, this 3 games, they score I believe 4 goals in total. It's just not enough. Like, they're not scoring enough. The team is Dylan Larkin and Kubalik and Andrew Cobb are putting up 8 minutes, 9 minutes on the power play on the last game, and they did absolutely nothing on having that much power play time. It's absolutely ridiculous. When you have 9 minutes of power play time, you better be putting up some points. So
no, it is pretty egregious when you're not getting anything done on the power play, especially with that many opportunities. Andrew Kopp has kind of been a bit of a bust as a pickup so far. They had really high expectations for him after the Rangers series last year when they saw how well he played in the playoffs for them. But he's really not really meshed with anybody they've really put him with. It's kind of sad. And Lucas Raymond has probably let me down the most. This is a guy I really love as a player. He is an elite playmaker with high-end potential, but for some reason, he just can't make the plays he was making last year.
Yeah, Lucas Raymond, he's a terrific player, but I feel like he's hitting a sophomore slump this year. I expect him to have a much better year next year, but for this year, it's going to be a rough ride for.
Yeah, I still believe in his talent. Like,
Yeah.
I absolutely think he's going to be an all-star player down the line. I mean, he's so young, guys. Like, the guy's like 21 years old.
Yeah.
We can't really fry him too hard at that age. He's still a great player, but he's really struggling right now. The only player I really notice who stood out to me still playing really well this whole time is Ville Husso. Ville Husso has kind of stand on his head despite the losing streak, and I got to give him props. He's playing really well. Not any goal support is kind of hurting this poor guy.
And the next biggest loser that we have this week comes as no surprise to anyone is the Chicago Blackhawks. They went 0-4. I mean, this team is expected to be terrible at the start of the season, and
Now we're finally seeing
why. I mean, I still like Jason Dickinson. I still like Lafferty. I want these guys on the Oilers right now.
That would really help your third
That would
line.
really help our team right now. But I mean, there's no reason to watch Chicago Blackhawks games right now. I mean, unless you watch for Patrick Kane.
But even then, you can see like Patrick Kane is not himself on this current team. He's really nowhere near the numbers. He's never had numbers this bad since I've ever seen him. It's kind of whack. I mean, it's not his fault. There's really not much to work with. And we're pretty much at this point, this is a team who's just playing at this point to get to the end of the year and see where they finish in the draft. And I hope for their sake, because they're so futile, that they get a really good player.
Yep.
And finally, our last team on our biggest losers of the week list, the New Jersey Devils. It was bound to happen, guys. This team has been on the winners list what seems like almost every week of the year, one of the most dominant teams in the NHL. But this week, somehow, some way, they went 0-4. Part of it was on poor play on their part. They made some big errors, some games that cost them the win. And some games, honestly, they just got goalied. Like the game against Carter Hart in Philadelphia, they had like 48 shots to 17 and they lost 2-1. Like, not much you can do about that kind of thing. But you could see there was some bad turnovers and some bad plays. And the one thing this team hasn't been able to really get right this entire year is that power play.
Yeah, this is a really young team. There's going to be some learning curve there in terms of winning on an 82-game schedule. They're expected to lose some games here and there.
Yeah, they can't just win, 13, 14 straight every time? Like,
this is a terrific hockey team. I actually really do like this team, even though I'm not. This is the biggest New Jersey fans right beside me.
No, don't even. I just realized real.
But that team plays a really good style hockey, very exciting type of brand of hockey. They shoot a lot in a net. Usually when you shoot a lot in net, Oilers, you usually win the game. So
yeah, they were really snake bitten for goals. It was actually kind of crazy how few goals they scored. It's not like them. I fully expect them to bounce back, but they definitely kind of performed pretty brutal this week.
Yeah, it's okay. They're going to come back.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Alrighty, and finally, we're going to do our rookie watch of the week. We're going to talk about 3 rookies that really stood out this week and kind of made big impacts on their team. First off, we have a new admission to this list, someone we haven't really talked about all year, and that's Noah Cates from the Philadelphia Flyers. This guy's kind of added some value to this team all year. Really chippy, physical guy who's like a really good energy player who kind of gets the spark going for this team. Kind of underrated. But this week, he actually had some offense. In 3 games, he put up 2 assists, which is kind of a little uncharacteristic for his style of game. But hey, it helped Philadelphia, and they ended up beating New Jersey because of it, so give the guy props. And another rookie we're going to talk about, we've mentioned a bit, he kind of went on a bit of a cold streak for a while after a hot start, and that is Shane Pinto, who had a goal and an assist this week in 4 games. He looks to slowly get it back. It's kind of helping now because all the injuries that they have with Stützle and guys like Josh Norris not playing. He's getting the opportunity in the top 6, and he's taking advantage of it, so good on Shane Pinto. And finally, for our last rookie of the week, we got to talk about this guy, even though he's not my favorite, because he was a point per game this week, and hey, he helped his team beat the Edmonton Oilers, and that is Mason McTavish from the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. In 4 games this week, this guy put up 4 assists, pretty impressive stuff for a young kid, and 2 of them against the Oilers, which led them to winning the game. So, good job, Mason, and hopefully you can continue it, bud.
Yeah, but that's all we have for this video today. If you like this video, please consider giving a like and subscribe. But until next time, we'll see you guys in the next video.
All right, take care.
Bye.